Hello, fellow travelers. This is Veronica from Human Design Journey, and we're going to look at the daily transit. And actually, not only the daily transit, because several things happened. Which are interesting to look at, and which are influencing what is going on the background. So, yeah. Okay. So here is the today's transit. I'm gonna refresh just to see whether something didn't change in the meantime. And what actually happened in the past few days is first of all, we just finished, and the sun entered 3 days ago the gate of revolution, the gate of principles. But just before that, it was in the 13th gate, which is actually part of the process of the coming of the new year. So here is the new year. And then when the sun entered the 41st gate, the gate of the starting codon, the new beginnings, dreaming of the new, setting goals, then what is needed for those goals to happen, and then the sun entered the 13th gate, which actually would give us few days during which, if we are tuned to the surrounding and to ourselves, of course, we're able to hear some directions about the hearing direction about the new year 2023. And yeah, maybe or maybe not, it was in the air. So this is the first thing which happened, was that the sun moved. And then the next thing which happened, major thing, on the 5th of February, was that Mars, which is the energy dynamics, which is the immature energy, which is a great resource, and at the same time it can be quite explosive and exactly immature. It takes time. So Mars entered the 35th gate, which is the gate of progress, the gate of change, thus forming, together with the Neptune, which is in the 36th gate until year 2025, forming the channel of transitoriness, a design of a jack of all trades, putting the emotional system under the possibility to actually make express emotional crisis awareness, and at the end, progress. So for the next 3 weeks until the 23rd of February, there are going to be some changes and some crisis situations. Basically, we have the channel of transitoriness, which links the throat center through the gate of progress to the 36th gate of darkening of the light in the emotional center. So here we have an emotional manifesting channel. So everybody who is non-emotional and with an open throat, or not a connection of no connection of the throat to some definition in the chart, will be under the pressure to manifest and to start things, to communicate things, to without usually emotional clarity, just manifesting, initiating, and chaotically, because basically here we have an energy that will try anything and everything, even if there is no obvious value, just obtain experience. It's the experiential way. And it's the part of the feelings, and it is wanting to start a new experience in order to have a new feeling, wanting to have a new flame to burn this stream of feelings into awareness and power to release a feeling or not, and manifestation of a feeling or not. So crisis and change, and it already started with the huge earthquake in Turkey and Syria, leaving an amazing amount of casualties, devastating event. Up to now, there are 21,000 people who lost their lives. Thousands are wounded. Amazing crisis. Floods in Malta and other things going on. But basically here we have the possibility over time to gain all the experience, which might grant some wisdom of what experience pays off in terms of value, or it might result in a sense of dejection that nothing amounts to very much, and nothing is really special. There is nothing new under the sun which can surprise me. Been there, done that. So the creative nature of this channel is definitely not personal but collective. So it must share what it does with others, share what it does. So it's about doing, it's about experiencing. It's not about thinking here. It's about the experiential way, which might require doing things that have never been done before, and that might not be easy. So here is the road of the experiential way, which brings us to discoveries and making the process, of course, very interesting and being shared. And the 3536 doesn't want to do it alone. They take others with them. Explorers would be a good example of this channel. They make an entire expedition around them. And if clarity, emotional clarity is not being weighted here, it can get quite a roller coaster ride, because this channel is doing its pure manifesting channel. So manifestors, we know, are here to break into new territories, to start new flames, to ignite new fires. And this is why oracally they're built with closed aura repelling, which can actually thrust itself in new territories. But only 10%, almost 10% of the whole population are manifestors, but that's like 1/10 of those 8 billion people that we are at this moment. So it is also not correct for a manifestor to do anything and to manifest anything before they have emotional clarity. and inform about it. So this is a very tricky energy we have in the air for the next 3 weeks. Mm, wanting to check out whether the grass is not really greener on the other side, but never sharing with the other that you don't know how to cross the lake to get to the other piece of land. You've never done it before. You don't know how deep the lake is, or let's say um, whether there are no some strange creatures in the lake. That's the 3536. Jack of all trades. In order to become the jack of all trades, it has to first jack them all. So um, be aware, especially as I said, if you're non-emotional or you don't have connection to the throat, or you have an open throat, you can be prone to really act from your false self, from the not true self. So another major thing which happened is that on the 6th of February, the very next day, the notes changed from the 24th and 44th hexagram to the 27th, 28th hexagram, which will last until, I think, June. So, yeah, when they will move to the 3 and 50 for giving us the channel of the channel of mutation, putting us into great mutative pressure. But let's go back to the current time. So this will be a major setting, since the nodes of the moon, those are not position, those are not planets, those are positions. Those are positions of where actually intersect the moon and the sun in their orbit, um, on the orbit of the Earth around the sun. So, and the moon around the Earth. So this is where there is this intersection, and those stellar points actually are portals which connect us to the bigger stellar picture, and those are places through where the global programming and other stars actually are setting up the stage for what's going on. It is connecting us to our geometry, which in human terms would be called faith. The faith. So it is, the nodes are setting the stage on which everything is going to take place, where it's the setting of the movie or of the play, the theater plays, the background, and it just moved into the 6th line of those gates, those hexagrams, since when we talk about the nodes, all the planets move this way, and nodes move clockwise. So everything moves anti-clockwise, but the nodes move clockwise. So first they start with getting into the 6th gate, then go backwards to the 1st gate. And here we have the 28th as south node, which will be at the beginning of this period more influential and more visible. The preponderance of the gate of the game player. In the 6th line, the blaze of glory, sacrifice rather than capitulation to the law of deterioration. And we have regeneration and renewal, no matter what the price. The deep intuitive drive to win, no matter what the cost. And the other side, self-destruction, the deep intuitive fear of defeat and a potentially profound hopelessness in times of struggle. And this is the background frequency. On the other hand, we have the 27th gate in the 6th line, nourishment, the gate of caring, wariness, a protection against the abuse of generosity, a practical and realistic approach to nurturing whose appropriateness is guided by feelings and instinct, the power and strength to be realistic in one's capacities to care and nurture, a tendency to over suspiciousness, the power of suspicion in limiting the expression of caring. So we have on one side the gate of the game player in the spleen. Here we have the fear of death, the fear that things are not worth it, that the fight is not worth it. It's part of the channel of the fighter. And it's really the game player part of the knowing circuit. So he either knows or not knows what to be, what to fight for, and what fight is worth it. So we will have the energy for the next few months being more or less in readiness to fight or flight. Because here we have also the stream of instinct, and so it's about intuition, excuse me. So it's about awareness to struggle or not, the risk taker, whether you should take that risk or not take that risk. So it will be a lot of risk setting situations in the air, which will have us having to choose what to do, and fear of death will also be in the air. The other lines are called the abuse of trust. This will be the next theme, the 5th line, treachery, the manipulation of the collective that while putting one fraction against the other does not directly support or reject either. The intuitive capacity of the game player to provoke struggle amongst others for his own benefit, or the breaking of alliances with trusted forces to align to more powerful forces and its attendant destabilization of the whole. The intuitive recognition in times of struggle to know when alliances must be broken and its destabilizing effect on others. And this is going to happen in the air. I'm really worried about different organizations and alliances like the European Union, for instance, or NATO or other structures, that it might begin some kind of call-ups or aligning with or different OPEC or different alliances, or for instance, the Arab alliances or the Eastern countries alliances, and all of this in the next it will be from the 17th of February till the 2nd of March active. So this is something that can be happening. Aligning, so regrouping of alliances, aligning with more powerful forces, and the destabilization of the whole in this process, and the whole destabilizing effect on others. Then we will move from the 2nd of March till the 8th In the fourth line, holding on, the ability through whatever means to keep one's grip. The application of knowledge to exploit opportunities and usually for the greater good, a depth of intuition at its best in struggle and often of value to others. Or the application of intelligence to hold on exclusively out of self-interest, a depth of intuition that is stubbornly selfish in its capacity to hold on. So who knows how this exactly is going to play out? Because we have this ability through whatever means to keep one's grip. I wonder how this will be exactly played out. Then, so yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Then we will have the third line, adventurism, a basic conservatism that even in the adventurous acts is necessarily prudent, an intuitive caution in risk-taking in times of struggle. Or the other side here, a perverse manifestation of Jupiter's expansiveness where risk-taking is rationalized and failures is ensured. Intuitive rationalizing of risk-taking in times of struggle. So, yeah, it's self-explanatory here. On one side, there can be prudency and conservatism about risk-taking or the unfounded risk-taking. So guys, be careful for your own lives and how you take decisions about risk-taking. Then we have distasteful alliance in the second line. Again, we talk about alliances, getting together with forces. And here a means, however unsavory, that it is justified by its end. When the game turns to a struggle, the intuitive acceptance of any alliance in order to win. And the other side, the anxiety engendered by sacrificing higher principles when there is no guarantee of success. The risk in sacrificing principles when there is no guarantee of victory. So who knows to what extent people will be able to go, or maybe our politicians and leaders, how far will they be able to go in the times of struggle which we are in, at least for the next 2 years. Pluto is in the 60th gate for a long time. Neptune for till 2025 at the gate of crisis. So apparently there is crisis going on in the air. And we have now the theme of those distasteful alliances. Then we will go into the first line, preparation, the desire to be effective manifested in the application of energy to detail, the intuition to potentially apply energy to detail. And the other side, the aesthetic appreciation of planning that may have no real application, an intuition for detail without the potential for application. So applying intuition to detail, or no, or not, in the first line. Basically, we will go through all the themes of the risk-taking, forming alliances, knowing or not knowing what to fight for, with whom to fight for, and it can get very tough and very counterintuitive, or it's part of the intuition stream, and it can get ugly if we don't follow our strategy and authority. And look, the times are calling for authenticity, whether we like it or not. We had some time since 1987, since human design came into the world, to eventually get a grip to our authentic way of being. And now the times are coming to such a point where this knowledge will be necessary to the very survival, maybe even. Who knows? Um, or maybe this is just a story, and maybe things will not get ugly. Maybe it will be just a small um push or a small um movement in order to make us to shake us more or less. Maybe it will not be um with big crisis, who knows, but uh, what is happening in the past days, um maybe those were the biggest crisis, but they're in the air and they're here to stay. So these are the notes, and then we have the 27th gate, the gate of nourishment, the gate of caring. Again, we're in the 6th line, wariness, and protection against an abuse of generosity, a practical and realistic approach to nurturing whose appropriateness is guided by feelings and instinct, the power and strength to be realistic in one's capacities to care and nurture. And on the other hand, a tendency to over suspiciousness, the power of suspicion in limiting the expression of caring. It's in the sacral center. So this is the energy and life force and availability to take care and nourish or not, in order to ensure the species survival. And we see it now in the wariness, but it in the next few weeks we will go also through the other lines of that hexagram, and these will be the executor in the 5th line, the ability to distribute effectively the resources of others, either the gifted and principled agent of distribution of the good sense and ability to find one, and the power and strength to care for the resources of others, or the restrictive nature that hampers distribution or the seeking of advice and assistance. Weakness and the risk of loss of power restrict caring. Then generosity, the natural sharing of attained abundance, in the magnanimous and qualitative sharing, the gift of rewarding those who are deserving, and the power and strength to share generously, or the indiscriminate sharing, the potential loss of power and strength through indiscriminate sharing. So those themes of caring will go through all the transpersonal way of caring, going into the individual, personal way of caring. So in 3rd line, we will go to the greed, the obsession with having much more than one needs. And here the psychological manifestation, the obsession and dependency on knowing what is hidden, the secret policeman, the power of derived in having more than one needs, whether sexually, mentally, or materially, abusing basically resources by wanting to have more, and which will always put somebody in the position of having less, of course. So on the other side, we mundane and holy without redeeming value, greed, a lust that inevitably cripples and addicts, the lust for power to get more than one needs. And those are oppositions, the 27th and the 28th in the will. So oppositions, we know, are basically mirrors to each other. So here we talk about risk taking in taking care, or taking care so that your fight is worth it. Fighting for what you care about, and care about your fight. All of this is playing out in the notes, in the surrounding. So in the second line, we have the obvious law that to give one must have, of course, the mother, the great nourisher, the strength to nurture and the power to care, or the child, depleting the resources of others, weakness that can sap the strength and power of others, to deploy it, to strip you from your strength. Then we will get to the first line, selfishness, the ego-driven first law of caring for oneself, which is not necessarily at the expense of ours, and the power to care for oneself first, or the envy and its attendant misfortunes, the power of selfishness that is manifested through envy. You don't have to leave out those things. You don't have to be puppet on strings, because this is just the background frequency. Yet, the background frequency will be for everybody, so everybody will be moved by those themes. The world will click and will stick in this way during this time. So, being informed, knowing what to expect, is a way of knowing what clothes to wear, whether to bring your umbrella or not. And definitely umbrella is needed. Look at that emotional center with a lot of potential here, and possibility for all the way in the next 3 weeks for expression, or all those other things that we went through. Let's look now at the sun. So this is about today, to a little bit make the picture of the momentum more clear. So today we have the gate of revolution. So on top of all of those things, we have the gate of principles. And today, by trial and error, we have the popular discontent, the ability to destroy antiquated forms once the restrictions have been removed, the potential insensitivity to reject failed principles or relationships. And the other side, with general support, savageness in eliminating the old order that may permanently scar the new, an insensitivity in rejection and rejecting. So revolution, and it's in the third line today. Through trial and error, making bonds made and broken, and eventual discoveries through revolution. But it is still in the emotional center, so be aware that you might be under the emotional pressure to start revolutions which might not have the support, or it's not their time and you don't have emotional clarity for knowing whether those principles can or should be fought for, to stand for them and take the risk of taking that fight. And are we going to get the answers with that? And all of this is in your strategy on authority, guys. You have the key and the keys on the surface. So the earth grounds this energy into the youthful folly, the gate of formalization. It's in the third line, irresponsibility, the general refusal to apply oneself diligently when one can get by with much less effort, where art is more valued than the artist, and the potential to enjoy the formulas with no regard to their practical application, the rationalization of irresponsibility as an act of refocalization, and the potential to justify such a process in order to maintain it. So looking for answers and giving answers even if you're not asked, irresponsibly, with general refusal to apply diligently oneself, or basically looking for formulas and answers which are not even there. And this is where grounding and balance are. So this energy will be quite vivid, finding our answers to obvious principles. And actually here we have also the 49th is the gate of the butcher. So a lot of emotional butchering words and actions can be taken, but it's also being sensitive to rejection, rejecting answers, or answers which are rejecting questions, and oversensitivity to that. All of this will be happening right now with focus, the mind focus in the gate of the gentle, the gate of the intuitive clarity, where the moon is first line confusion, where feelings are no substitute for clarity and can lead to indecision, the possibility that confusion will overpower the intuition. This will not stay long. Soon the moon will move to the 32nd gate, 50th, 20th, and so on. But this is where our mental focus is right now. Or what's as the background frequency. Then we have the Mercury, so communication and thinking is in the gate of limitation. Third line, together with Pluto, which is there till 2025. So what wants to be communicated and the truth are in the line of conservatism, the enlightened self-interest that naturally handles restrictions and limitations, ensuring identity and security, the energy to maintain identity and security despite limitations. And on the other side, ego gratifying self-interest that ignores limitations and suffers predictably, energy which ignores limitations and pays the price. The gate of limitation teaches us that some things need to be left behind and which limit us, or to accept those limitations or those things that limit us, and through strategy and authority see how to be despite those limitations. And the deep truth here and communication that can happen, it can be quite setting boundary and ostracizing things which will actually bring mutation, and or choosing which mutation is which new is viable, which innovative direction can be taken, which will bring something new. But this is what we're going to hear on the media, and what people are going to be talking about. Then we have Venus in the 22nd gate, second line, the gate of openness, charm, school, the belief that style can mask nature, the ability to successfully dilute oneself and others, the possibility to attract others with an emotional style, or the legalization of form over substance where the style is energized at the expense of awareness. So the moral values will be practically charming, or form over substance, being natural and attuned to acoustically, that's the right year, which doesn't hear everything in the now, but with time. Then Mars, we already discussed that basically activated the channel of transitoriness. Right now in the second line, creative block. Lack of inspiration, which stops progress. Attunement with the vagaries of the muse and the recognition. Creativity is energy that ebbs and flows. Creativity and the muse will always come and go. The need to take action, however mundane, to overcome the feeling of emptiness. The actions being uninspired do not further progress. The need for change and the fear of stasis. This is the immature energy, the energy dynamics in the air, bringing us change and lack of inspiration, which stops actually the progress. Then we have Jupiter, law and protection, in the 17th gate, the gate of following, the gate of opinion in the Ajna center. In the 5th line, no human is an island. The recognition, however, understood that there is no end to hierarchies. So these, as values, hierarchies will be important. And it's also about opinions. And in the 5th line here, we have projection on others about their opinions. The ultimate creative expression of interdependency, whether as God's will or global synthesis, opinions that can express the value of being organized, whether mundane or spiritual. And on the other side, the arrogance, despite all the evidence to claim that the buck stops here, the possibility of opinions that refuse to see the value of being organized. It's part of the channel of the organizational being, which can organize everybody else but themselves. And it's a projector channel, so if your opinions are not asked for, you better don't express them. You have to be recognized and asked for your opinions. And that is going to be the law and protection. So a lot of opinions being expressed, and especially projecting on those opinions. Expressing opinions as, or hoping that the opinions of those experts will save us, be the savior, be practical, that those opinions will be practical, and see what happens. But basically, you should not be interested in anybody else's opinion unless this is what your strategy and authority say. Then Saturn is in the where discipline and limitation is in the 30th gate, the clinging fire, the gate of feelings, the gate of the fates. And again in the 3rd line. So we have a lot of 3rd and 2nd lines here in this transit, a lot of trial and error, a lot of discoveries maybe, and a lot of natural things naturally enveloping. But we have here resignation, the acceptance of what is. That's what's going to limit us. Accepting things maybe instead of changing them, or the awareness and manifestation of the law of regeneration, the laws of karma, reincarnation and resurrection, the feeling to accept what is. And the other side, the tendency by its very knowledge to encourage or avoid despair, the positive or negative feelings which come with acceptance of what is. And apparently we will need a lot of acceptance to accept 21,000 lives being lost just for 4-minute shake, guys. The earthquake. And it just shows us how small we are and how few seconds can change everything. And it's not up to us. We are choiceless in a way. We are part of the bigger picture, of the bigger plan, and we cannot escape it. We cannot escape it. And we can learn something here in this transit. It's about accepting of what is. That's what the fates bring us. And the 30th gate is there for Saturn already since January the 20th. And this is what the fates bring us. Next, we have the Uranus, the unusualness, chaos, and innovation in the gate of the receptive, the gate of direction of the self, in the second line, genius, unconscious and unlearnable alignment of stimulus and response, the natural. So here we have unusually direction, natural direction, and feeling connection to the higher self, which will give direction if you listen to it, if you have the ears to listen to it. And we have the inner strength to focus and realize, a natural gift for unlearnable knowing, or the genius as madness. Knowledge exclusively as power for the enhancement of the ego. The delusion that knowledge is power. So on the other hand, next to the higher feeling of what direction you should go, it can also be delusional that knowing something, for instance, knowing with your mind that and having information about something is not necessarily going to make things less dangerous or better necessarily, or whatever. Everything is about strategy and authority, which will align you to your own geometry and connect you to this higher self, which knows the direction, and meet you with your fractal line, which will be not the easiest, but the most correct and healthy way for you to pass. Whatever that is, whatever that is, it will be your movie, not somebody else's. We have Neptune in the gate of crisis, in the second line, support, assistance to others in times of decline, the application of imagination to schemes which benefit others, feelings that can benefit others in times of crisis. But it's about feelings. And Neptune is what is illusional, spiritual, transcendence, but what is behind a veil. So we don't know exactly what's going on. Most probably we'll find out at the end of the whole experience. When it's over, it's part of the sensing circuit, and there it needs the experience to pass, so you can, from the time perspective, from the maturity of time, from the coolness of time, if you want, even to be able to see and to judge what the whole experience was about. But while it's happening, you don't know. And in Neptune, where water dilutes the vision and doesn't get you to see there, all we can do is just let it be. All we can do is just let it go and not worry about it. But there is some underlying crisis going on, and we are going to find out in due time. In maybe it will be too late. So who knows? We will see, and we will make sense out of it. We will make sense out of it. It's the sensing circuit, but it will take time. And the last but not least, Pluto, which we already discussed when we were talking about Mercury. And those are mutative times, guys. It's limiting us to learn, to teach us something, to teach us and prepare us for what's coming. And limitations apparently are also what gives us the possibility to find way around those limitations and transcend them. That's what the cross of limitations teaches us. So it's not all bad. It's not all good. There is no moral in human design. It's about expanding your consciousness. It's about learning new things. It's about being a passenger in a form, accepting your limitations and accepting the limitations of the form through the transcendence of the spirit, at the end, because the spirit has no limits. And maybe this is what we're here to learn. Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe there's nothing for you in that transit. But I bet that in the next few months, because there were a lot of changes with the nodes changing, there might be something. And it will influence your life, whether it's with some kind of struggle or some kind of caring and need for caring, and nourishment or not. And at the end, whether everything is worth it or not. Fears can be intelligence. Fears are intelligence. Intelligence to give you information about what changed in the surrounding, so that we are safe. Fears can also be crippling. Fears can be paralyzing us. Same is with needs. To need, to be needed, to nourish, to take care or not take care. And there are two ways of taking care. It can be with taking care of things, or it's to take care of somebody and to remove them away. Somebody's being taken care of. So it's a duality we live in. It's a duality which is also inherent in us as well. We have personality and design side. So this duality is in us. It's part of the way. It's not supposed to be apparently so easy. It's supposed to be difficult. And this can be amusing. Hence, you wake up the observer who can see the movie for what it is without taking it personally, because the program is not personal. It doesn't do it on purpose. It doesn't do something bad on purpose. It's just a program. It just is. And strategy and authority align us to what is, align us to the path, to our journey, to our geometry, and the correct fractal lines. What is the transit field is not something you have to live. It's there. It's a possibility. But now you're informed. Now you know. And it's up to your strategy and authority to be in the correct place with the correct people in the correct circumstances to live your authentic life meant for you. That's all for now. This is Veronica from Human Design Journey, and this is the transit field, which is going to affect us for the next few months till June with the nodes, and in the next 3 weeks with the channel of transitoriness. So be aware and stay tuned for more. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.